It's Friday, July 24th, 2026. Welcome to episode 212 of the Alameda Postcast, an audio service of the Alameda Post. I'm your host, Scott Peeler. In this edition of the Postcast, the City Council tackles bonds, bureaucracy, and bikes. The city launches a mobile legal clinic. A former AUSD custodian arrested. The latest real estate sales, winners from the July 4th parade, and a great turnout for Radio Day by the Bay. Art and Wine Fair this weekend, and a look ahead to blues, brews, and barbecue. These stories and more on this episode of the Alameda Postcast. Our top story, as we previewed last week, on Tuesday, City Council approved the final passage of an ordinance that will place a $300 million general obligation bond on the ballot in November. The $300 million would be put toward the $800 million in infrastructure needs identified by the city. The final vote was 4-1 with Tony Dasog dissenting. If passed by voters, homeowners would see an additional $49 per $100,000 of assessed value per year for the life of the bond. So a home appraised at $1 million would pay an additional $490. The typical life of a general obligation bond is 30 years. Factoring in interest, the final payoff on a typical 30-year $300 million general obligation bond is approximately $550 million. Voters will have their say in November. A major portion of Tuesday's meeting was dedicated to a discussion of eliminating two elected positions. The council's Charter Review Subcommittee, made up of Mayor Marilyn Ezzy Ashcraft and Vice Mayor Michelle Pryor, introduced a proposed resolution to place a city charter amendment on the November ballot that would eliminate the offices of elected city auditor and city treasurer, held currently by Kevin Kearney and Kevin Kennedy, respectively. Only two other cities in Alameda County, Berkeley and Oakland, have elected auditors, and they perform a different function than Kearney's assigned role. Ashcraft also questioned whether continuing the positions would be the best use of city funds, revealing that although the annual salaries have been fixed at $3,600 since 1937, each official also receives benefits that have totaled around $470,000 over 15 years. Eliminating the roles could save the city about $84,000 annually. Vice Mayor Pryor added, quote, "This is not a referendum on their hard work. The city regularly uses third-party auditors, and the city has a finance department that regularly reports to council in public meetings," end quote. Councilmember Greg Bowler questioned the duties of the third-party auditors that the city hires and ultimately concluded that the core issue underlying the debate was electoral independence. Similarly, Tony Dasog quoted portions of the city charter to demonstrate that city staff and department directors answer to the city manager, who in turn answers to the council, whereas the elected auditor and treasurer answer directly to voters. Kearney and Kennedy, known colloquially as the Kevins, were allowed to speak and answer council questions during public comment through a motion made by Bowler and a unanimous vote by council. Kennedy spoke first and began by emphasizing that he does not intend to run for treasurer again once his term expires in 2028, saying, quote, "I am not here tonight to try to preserve my job, preserve my benefits. This isn't at all about me. This is a position that, as a resident, someone who has firsthand experience with it, is critical for this government to have," end quote. When Kearney took the podium, he said, quote, "I'm the elected auditor. I don't answer to anyone in this building. I answer to the people of Alameda. I cannot be fired for finding the truth. Can't be fired because you don't like me." In summary, the elected auditor negates collusion, it cancels out undue influence, it ensures that the books are clean, the staff is safe, and the public is protected, end quote. During discussion, both Ashcraft and Pryor applauded Kearney and Kennedy's contributions, but ultimately reiterated that their roles do not align with typical municipal practices and are duplicative of city staff responsibilities and outside auditors. Greg Bowler expressed reluctance at eliminating the positions without a replacement model and suggested consolidating duties into a single auditor position while permitting Kearney and Kennedy to complete their terms. He made a motion as such, along with a companion motion to direct staff to return after the election to develop long-term options. Neither received a second, and so both motions failed to move forward. Dasog voiced his opposition both to the proposal and any effort to table the discussion until a future meeting. He argued that the relatively small cost is worth it to have independent individuals in both positions. Jensen also expressed disapproval of the proposal and noted that a previous charter subcommittee helmed by Dasog and former Vice Mayor John Knox White, which explored the same proposal in 2019, found that most opposed eliminating the positions. As it became clear to Mayor Ashcraft that the required 4 council votes to approve the resolution could not be reached, she decided to move forward without calling for a vote on the item, which means that the elected treasurer and auditor positions will continue to exist. Later in the meeting, Council discussed a proposed ordinance to amend the Alameda Municipal Code to prohibit parking that obstructs Class 2 bicycle lanes, Class 3 bike routes or Alameda neighborhood greenways, or Class 4 separated or protected bike lane facilities, and to amend the master fee schedule to add fine amounts for such violations. The proposed ordinance would create an initial fine of $79 for parking in bike lanes with a late penalty of $53. This would become effective on October 1st this year following the final passage of the ordinance in September. Council voted unanimously to approve the proposed ordinance, which will come before Council for final passage during its next meeting, Tuesday, September 1st. As a reminder, City Council will, as they do every year, adjourn for the month of August. Full details in Ken Durr's article at alamedapost.com/news. Also at the meeting, Mayor Marilyn Ezzy Ashcraft read a proclamation honoring City Attorney Yi-Bin Shen as he departs from his role after nearly 8 years of service to Alameda. Shen became Alameda's City Attorney in May of 2019 after serving as Chief Deputy City Attorney for the City of Santa Monica. In her proclamation, Mayor Ashcraft listed Shen's many accomplishments for the city, including guiding Alameda's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, protecting the city's food delivery ordinance, developing the Prosecution and Public Rights Unit, instituting an in-house victim services division, helping establish the police auditor role, launching the city's first fair housing conference, and creating, most recently, the Housing and Victim Services Mobile Clinic. More on that in a moment. Details on the proclamation in Adam Gillett's article at alamedapost.com/news. As I just mentioned, one of Yi-Bin Shen's last acts as city attorney is the creation of the new Mobile Housing and Victim Services Clinic. The clinic will bring free housing information, victim services, and resources directly to residents throughout the community. Starting in August, the clinics will be offered one Saturday a month at rotating locations, including libraries, community centers, and other accessible public venues. Services offered include landlord-tenant information and resources, housing rights and responsibility, mediation program information, victim services information, community resource referrals, as well as information about upcoming housing education workshops. The first clinic will be offered on August 15th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Alameda Free Library. Details on the program at alamedapost.com/news. Someone who is definitely in need of legal help is former Alameda Unified School District employee Paul Borg III, who has been arrested and charged with burglary for allegedly stealing at least one safe from a district office, according to court records quoted in the East Bay Times. In addition to one count of felony burglary for the June 7th break-in, Borg, a 24-year-old Oakland resident, was charged with 2 felony counts of possessing a concealed weapon when police arrested him on June 23rd. Borg worked for 2 years as an AUSD custodian but lost his job in 2024 amid a conflict with another employee. He was identified as a suspect in the break-in after a privately owned license plate reader identified his Mercedes as being in the area around 3 a.m. when the burglary took place. Police say the video showed Borg with another unidentified suspect breaking into a district building on Challenger Drive and stealing 2 safes. Police reported searching his home in June, where they found a safe that had been damaged with a sledgehammer and had a melted hole, possibly from a blowtorch. When Borg was arrested in Emeryville, he told police he, quote, just found a safe on the side of the road, end quote. Full details at alamedapost.com/news. Time again to check in on the latest real estate sales for residential sales. After the holiday weekend, 23 homes sold between July 6th and July 19th, 17 on the main island, 6 on Bay Farm. Remember how everyone was astonished when 16 Killarney Place in Harbor Bay Isle broke records with a sale price of $4,875,000 back in March? Well, the Gold Coast has reasserted its Alameda superiority when 1121 Bay Street sold for a new record $5 million. The 5-bed, 4-bath, 7,286 square foot showpiece adjoining the lagoon sold for $3 million back in 2015. The lowest residential sale price this period, $396,000. 16 properties sold above asking, 3 at list and 4 below. Full details in Liz Rush's column at alamedapost.com/real-estate. The winners of the 4th of July parade have been announced. The top prize, the Mayor's Trophy, was awarded to the Alameda Theater and Cinema Grill. Find the full list of winners at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. While you're there, check out Vicki Nguyen's coverage of last Saturday's Radio Day by the Bay at the California Historical Radio Society. Thanks to those who stopped by the Alameda Post table or who enjoyed the Radio Dogs' performance of The Thin Man, The Case of the Goofy Groom. It was a blast joining that troupe of great radio personalities. Speaking of radio, hope you can join me Sunday morning at 8 on KCSM HD2. My guest on the Alameda Connection will be Don Damari, the CEO of Alameda's BEI Construction, the company actively involved in building large-scale renewable energy projects. The annual Art and Wine Fair is this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, along and around Park Street. Just one of the events highlighted in Amanda Laird's weekly All Around Alameda column. Also going on this weekend, Starlight Movies in the Park continues with Back to the Future at the Alameda Point Multipurpose Field. Alameda City Firefighters Annual Pancake Breakfast Sunday at Fire Station 1. Pacific Pinball Museum has Museum Mad Libs that day for ages 5 to 15. And if you're feeling creative on Sunday, make your own terrarium at Bullseye Glass on Park Street from 11:30 to 1:30. Details on all these events in the All Around Alameda column at alamedapost.com/alameda-life. While you're there, check out a preview of September's Blues, Brews, and Barbecue. Find the Alameda Post on all social media platforms, now including TikTok. Get the Postcast wherever you get your podcast, or tell your smart device to play the Alameda Postcast podcast. I'm Scott Peeler, back next Friday with episode 213 of the Alameda Postcast.